I don't know, first, second, no, fourth.
Yeah.
It's the 4th. But you know, February is like the worst month to go sleep. Kind of like some study. It's like people that get the least amount of sleep in February.
That's sad.
Yeah. So welcome to
Thanks for that, Mark.
welcome to the month of hell.
Okay, guys. So the first one is after this month. As in, after this month, we will be getting regular sleep again. Just after this month, though. So after this month.
What was after?
That's the question.
Do you want to write the English down?
The next one is afterwards. The third one is after he saw his friends. And after he saw his friends, then he went home. But after he saw his friends.
Can you repeat the first one?
After this month. And you might want to pay attention to the word for his also, right after he saw his friend.
Is it his?
After he saw his own friend. The fourth one, a boy of great spirit.
Boy or the book.
A boy, either. The next one is a man with no courage, or a man of no courage.
I can't see some.
We know 2 words for courage.
That doesn't help me at all. Let's do it blank.
Number 6 is for 2 years. Again, like I played sports for 2 years in college. For 2 years.
This month is going to feel like 2 years.
But that would be a different construction. So don't write that down. For 2 years.
Oh yeah. We're in 10.
8. So number 7 is that year. That year, we got good grades.
A whole other year is very sad. Just on a
In
roll.
this year or just that year?
So that's an English question rather than Latin. They would both be the same construction in Latin.
Oh, let's see.
And the last one is in summer. looking very grim.
It's Monday morning. It was
I know.
break.
Okay, after this month. So what kind of word are we going to use for after? Just post. Because in this case, it's what part of speech? After this month. Not an adjective. Comes before.
Okay.
It's a preposition. Okay. So the preposition is post, and it takes what case? Accusative. So post. You're going to use hic, haec, hoc, and what's the word for month? Menses. So what's the accusative going to be? Mensem, good. And does anyone remember the gender of menses? Masculine, good. So what would the form of hic, haec, hoc be? You want the accusative, singular, masculine.
Honk.
Not honk, but
Honk.
honk, right, with a U, because honk is the feminine. So post honk mensem, after this month. So if it's followed immediately by some kind of expression of time or by a noun, it's going to be the preposition, like after the war, right, postbellum. Okay. The second one was afterwards. How do we say afterwards? Postea. Okay. And that one's just an adverb, right? Afterwards, we went home. The third one then is going to be, so after he saw his friend, post quam, okay? So post is a preposition, right, that takes the accusative, so after this month or after the war. Okay, postea is an adverb, afterwards we went home. Okay, post quam is what part of speech? After he saw his friend, he went home.
Adjective.
An adjective. Think about it, you could replace after in the sentence with like when or because, right? What kind of words are those? When, because, and, but. Conjunction, it's a conjunction. Okay, so we have three different words. We have post, which is a preposition and takes the accusative. We have postea, which is an adverb. And then we have postquam, which is a conjunction. So after he saw his friend, so postquam, he saw his friend. How are we going to say that?
Can you repeat the three posts?
So post, all by itself, just the word post, is a preposition, and it takes the accusative. So post hunc mensem, after this month. Postea is an adverb. So afterwards we went home. And you can tell that's an adverb rather than a conjunction because it's not joining two clauses, right? It can be in the main part of the main clause, the main sentence. Okay. And then the third one is postquam, which is a conjunction, so it joins two clauses. He went home after he saw his friend. Okay. So postquam, he saw. How do we say he saw? Amin.
We did.
We did, good. So postquam we did his friend.
Friend or friends?
I'd be happy with either one. I think I said friend, but what case does that have to be? After he saw?
So,
Amicum su. Right, because remember that's the possessive adjective. So after he saw his friend, his own friend. Postquam vidit amicum suum. Or amicum suum.
Genitive.
Not the genitive, because that would be the friend of himself, which is something a little bit different. So for the possession, you want to use that possessive adjective, suicidal. Okay. A boy of great spirit. Aaron, did you say a boy?
Puer.
Puer, good. And then of great spirit, what are we going to do for that? What case are we going to throw that in?
Genitive.
Ablative or genitive, good. Okay, so if you use genitive, Aaron, what'd you get? So puer.
Animi.
Good. The only thing is, so anima is actually a word feminine. It means like breath or like life force. So the word for spirit is masculine. So magni animi. Okay. So puer magni animi. Okay. Or if you use the ablative, Shirley, what did you get? Magno animo. And both are perfectly fine. Okay. A man with no courage. Ida, what did you get for that?
Queer nihil fortis.
Remember, we're going to use nouns, right, with great courage. So we need the noun for courage, or bravery, manliness.
That's an S, right?
Manliness, courage.
Oh, where it says where to.
Very good. And we're going to put it in what case? Genitive or ablative. Good. Okay, so we're, and then how do we say no or none?
No.
Nullus. Okay? So non just means not. So it's an adverb, right? So it can't, remember, an adverb can't modify a noun. It can only modify an adjective or the verb. Okay? So we need the adjective, which is nullus. So we're, so Ida, what would that sound like? We're.
No, we're two kids.
Good, except that what gender is, we're too feminine, because it's an abstract noun, right? Abstract nouns are always feminine. So we're nullae, we're tutus. Or if we're going to put it in the ablative, Nate, what would that sound like?
In the ablative. Why would you put it in the ablative?
But you can use both for the, remember we went through the two constructions, the genitive or ablative of description, so you can use either one. So if we did want to use the ablative to make it sound like a man with no courage instead of a man of no courage, how would we turn? So we don't have to change we're, that's going to stay the same.
So we're nolon. Anima. Oh wait, no.
Because that would be accusative, so ablative would be
No. Nulli.
nulli, because it's just like, it's just a first, second declension adjective, so.
Nullo.
Nullo, ani,
Anima.
animo, or if you were using virtus, Adele, what would it sound like? Virtute, and it's feminine, so it would be null, nulla, virtute. Okay. For 2 years, Mark, what do we have for 2 years?
Dos autos?
If we were in Spanish class.
Not
dos,
duos.
Duos, good.
Right.
Duos
Yeah,
annos,
duos.
very nice. And it's in the accusative, perfect, good. Okay, so duos annos, because this is our accusative of duration of time, right? How long did it happen for? It happened for 2 years, therefore it goes in the accusative. Okay. That year, Emily? Good, but what case? That would be for that year. Like for the entire length of that year, I was living in Spain, right? That would be an extent of time. But we want, if we were just saying that year, like that year I was happy or that year I went to camp, what kind of construction is that going to be? Not accusative of duration, but ablative of time, when, right? Because it's not answering the question, how long did it happen? It's answering the question, when did it happen? Good. So we just need to take illud or illum anum and throw it into the ablative. Illo? Anno? Yeah. Illo anno, that year. In that year, as Shirley was saying, it's the same idea in English, in that year. Okay. And then in summer is going to be the same kind of construction. Okay. So, Emil, what would that summer be? Or in summer, sorry. Aestate, good. And remember, even though in English we use that preposition in or sometimes at, in Latin there's no preposition for ablative of time when. So just aestate by itself. Okay? All right, put your names on them if it's in your sheet. I'll select them.
I forgot to color the map. Next block.
That was.
Yeah.
She was markers over there. Let's just be secret.
All right, guys, go ahead
Assignment, that's going to be my way in that class.
and get out your reading. Okay, the women have their say.
The woman thing?
The woman thing. Page 17.
Can I just start in your paper, because I don't have anything.
How's it get over this on
No, you're probably being too hard on yourself.
Picture.
I just want an iPhone.
Can I start with
Sure.
Just possibility.
We can pass this around.
pages on?
Page 17.
I know we talked about names last year, but why didn't they have more of them?
I don't know. Just
It
condensing.
seems like
I
there's
think it makes it easier.
four
for us.
names they can
It makes
choose.
it, don't question it. It just makes it easier.
No,
It's
it
like,
kind
no,
of
but
makes it
then you
harder
don't know
because
what
it's more
the name
confusing.
Julia, a name.
No,
Fulvia
but
is
like
the name.
then you have to guess it's a name on the
Sure
word.
for that.
It's a story.
Like for so long.
Right?
All right, Adele, you ready?
Yes.
Okay.
So Fulvia Mater Publi sororitas es Caecilia et secunda Publium Reformque expecta.
Mhm.
So Fulvia, the mother of Publius,
Mhm.
expected Publium and Reform.
Mhm. Rufus, right? Remember, so they're in the accusative right now because she was waiting for them. So we have, when we translate it into English, we have to put them back in the nominative. So she was waiting for Publius and Rufus. Mhm.
And here's verbs. Because I already used the verb.
Right. So we have cum,
So with his sister.
or already was
Sister.
sisters. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you had to do the
Nope.
Caecilius
Okay.
before that.
Oh well, those are so Caecilia and Secunda are in what case?
Ablative.
Ablative. So they're the who are they?
I thought they were
But who are they in? Why are they in the ablative?
by
You can't have by means of a person. Nope, because they would have ab in there. Why are they in the ablative, guys?
Because of sisters.
Right, they're in opposition to the sororibus. So Fulvia, the mother of Publius, with his sisters, Caecilia and Secunda, those are the names of the sisters, so they're going to be in the same case as the sisters.
oh, so you can kind of translate down the line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can translate it pretty much.
You don't have to go.
Nope. In this case, you don't have to go to the verb.
So Fulvia, the mother of Publius, with his sisters Caecilia and Secunda, expected Publius and then thought Publius.
Good. And remember, it's like expected or was waiting for, because you want to get that imperfect tense.
Or what are they waiting?
She was waiting for Publius and Rufus, right?
Oh, okay.
Shirley, did you have a question for us?
I don't know if it's his sisters.
Well, so you don't, just by looking at it. The one thing it can't be is what? Right, because it's not plural. It also can't be her own, right? Because that would be the reflexive adjective. So it's someone else's sister, so I'm assuming they're Publius' sisters. We'll revise as needed. Okay. Does anyone want the second section?
Okay, durum est semper expectare secundum.
Mhm.
It is hard to always wait, says Secunda.
She didn't just say it, she came out.
Shouted.
She shouted, yeah. Good. So it's
Wait.
hard always to wait, Secunda shouted.
And so,
Mhm.
Cleros expectamus nihil ipsae adminis. We expect men.
Good, but really it doesn't mean expect, it means.
We, like, look for it.
Look for or wait for, yeah. So she's saying, it's hard always to wait. We wait for the men. Nihil ipsae agimus. Did you want to take the next one?
Okay. We have verum act virorum gratior est. The life of the boys and men is more pleasing.
It's more pleasing. Good, our comparative. Gratior. Very nice. Good. Are there any questions about that? Nate?
In ludum, in forum, in loca publica procedunt.
Mm-hmm.
They lead in school, in the forum, and in public places.
Mm-hmm. I would just say one thing. So it's ludum, forum, loca, publica. So what case are those guys?
Accusative.
Accusative. So we can't say in school. We have to say, remember, because in plus the accusative doesn't mean in. It means,
Act.
remember, accusative means motion towards. So you're not standing in the forest. You're walking to or into or towards. Yeah, that's fine. But so here we have to look back at our verb to see how we can make that make sense. So what does procedunt mean? not just they lead, but they advance, go forward. Okay. So she's really saying they go out in ludum to school. They go out to the forum. They go out to public places.
In school?
So what it can't mean is in school, because that'd be
right,
in ludo, right?
Okay.
With the ablative. So they go forward into school, or they go out to school. And loca publica, Emil, tell me about the form of loca publica. Just the case number and gender.
Oh, it's neuter, accusative, plural.
Good, and what's the nominative singular of that word?
Locum.
Nominative singular. Remember, there's a trick with this word. How do you say a place? Locus. So remember, it's masculine in the singular and then neuter in the plural. Okay. Which is why it's loca publica, not locos publicos here. Good. Nate, do you want to take the next one? Oh, did you want to do this one?
Oh.
Okay.
Well, can you repeat that whole?
So procedunt. So what did procedunt mean?
If they go out.
They go out, in ludum, in forum, in loca publica. So where do they go out to?
In school and forum.
Are you saying in?
Or they go out to
To or into? School.
into the forum
Uh-huh.
and into public
Places, exactly. Good. Aaron.
Okay. Sed Roma puellis inimica est. But Rome is unfriendly to girls.
Very nice. What case is puellis there, Jean?
It is dative.
Dative. Good. Just like it sounds in English, right? Unfriendly to, hostile to. Very nice. Quid? What's quid? What? Okay. What? What? Mark, do you want to?
No.
Yes, you do.
I'll be honest.
You can't lie to me.
No, I wasn't lying to you. Yeah, never mind. Alright, Nonne Roma, Claris mulieris, Romana semper memoria tenet. So none of the Romans.
None. Do you remember nonne? This is a question word. Nonne.
Oh, why? Is this wrong?
So the net is just the question mark, right? And then non is
No, it's
not, right? So what is nonne?
So why not?
Is it like, do you not?
Exactly. So it's expecting what kind of an answer? A yes. It's expecting a positive answer. So let's go to our verb before we translate it. So
So, the tenet?
tenet, good. And what's the subject? Because we know tenet, it's going to be
Romana.
not romanas, but
Roma.
Roma. Good.
Is Roma the name?
Of the city?
I mean, it's the name of the city, not the person.
Right.
Okay. So, why?
Not why.
So, to what?
So let's just translate it first as a sentence, and then we'll turn it back into a question.
Okay.
So
the Roman.
Roma.
The
Just
Rome.
Rome. Good. Tenet.
Lives or
Tenet memoria.
occupies?
Tenet memoria. Occupies holds onto.
Occupies,
Holds memoria.
Memories.
Well, what
or-
case is memoria?
It's genitive. Accusative. Nominative. I'm missing one.
Yeah.
Ablative.
Ablative. So what is our idiom here? Memoria tenere?
Remember.
To remember, exactly. To hold in memory. So the sentence, the declarative would be Rome holds in memory. Now we want to make that a question that's expecting a yes answer, Mark. So how are we going to do that?
So,
So we want the answer to be yes, Rome holds in memory. So what would our question be?
why are they blinking? To why? To
Why? That's not a yes or no.
oh
Right?
yeah, okay.
You know,
Is Roman? Is Rome?
does or
It
doesn't,
does.
right?
Oh, doesn't.
So doesn't Rome
hold in
remember
memory.
or hold in memory?
What?
What does Rome remember?
Claras
mulieris.
Romanas.
Mhm.
So fallen Roman or fallen Rosemary.
Claras. What's Clarus?
Famous.
Famous
Famous.
Roman mulieres.
Soldiers?
Nope.
Wait.
Women.
Women.
Oh,
Good.
that would make more
So
sense.
doesn't Rome always remember famous Roman women? Right? Because there's a lot of stories about famous Roman women. Rogawit Caecilia. Caecilia, what's Rogawit? What's she doing?
Oh, I didn't see. Sorry. The
Doesn't Rome always remember famous Roman women? Caecilia.
said or shouted, exclaimed.
What's she
No,
doing?
no, question. Question.
Yes,
Say
it's
it out
very
loud.
formal. She asked.
Question.
Question.
She interrogated.
I would say that.
Okay. Ida?
Where has their where about quiz where Turion why Roma Serwawit Memoria Northern. This is true, but what of where Turia?
Okay, let's do the outside first. This is true. Erant whereba fulviae.
Where the words folded?
Good, where the words fulviae. So that one is very formal.
See?
Okay.
So whereum est. So it is true. Were the words of fulvia.
Oh, word the word.
Erant, right, are imperfect. So,
What
and then quis.
Not the what of, but
What? So not what, because that would be quid. What's quis? Quis always means who, right? Because it's always nominative. It's always masculine or feminine. So it's always who. So who, and then what's the verb going with that? Because quis is always nominative, so it's got to be our subject. So who?
remembered.
No.
Who doesn't
Who doesn't remember?
Where Turia?
Mm-hmm.
Who saved the Romans?
Who say Romam?
No, Rome.
Rome. Good.
What's his name?
Not his name.
Wait, who doesn't remember?
Who doesn't remember?
Where Turia?
Veturia. Mm-hmm.
Like what
You're just asking a question.
is how it's Venturia?
Yes, but I'm saying it's not his name. What are we talking about? Veturia.
Just kidding.
Her name, right? Yeah, her name is Veturia. Veturia. Who saved Rome. And then we're about to learn more about Veturia. Who hasn't translated yet? Is everyone translated? I mean, next one.
Actually, I didn't really understand that one. Coriolanus filius Veturiae legem proposuerat, quae civitati non grata erat. So Coriolanus, son of Veturia, proposed laws which were not grateful of the state.
Close. So he proposuerat. What tense is that? Not he proposed, because that would be proposuit. He had proposed. Very nice. So he had proposed a legem, a law, which was non grata, which was
Not good.
not pleasing. Civitati. It was not pleasing
to the people.
to the people, to the state. Good. Do we all remember who Coriolanus is? We read the story about Coriolanus. What did he do?
Oh, he was the Coriolanus.
Yeah, same guy. So Coriolanus, do you remember? So he had been a big soldier for the Romans, and then the Romans kind of turned on him. So he went and fought for the other side until his mother and his wife came and begged him, okay, to come back and not hurt Rome anymore. Okay, so it's the same guy.
Can you repeat the sentence?
So Coriolanus, the filius Veturiae,
The son of
Veturia, so Coriolanus, the son of Veturia, had proposed a legem. What's
A law.
A law, which was not pleasing to the state or to the people. Nate, do you want to-
Sure. Itaque inimici Coriolanum in fugum dederunt, et is ad vocos hostis Romanorum fugit. So they put to flight the enemy Coriolanus, and he fled to the Vulcans, the enemies of Rome.
Good. So the last part is perfect Let's look a little more closely at the first part. So, and so, right? And what's the subject there? Who's doing what? What's in the nominative there?
Enemici.
Very good. And so the enemies, his enemies, and remember, enemici are not hostes. What's the difference between hostes and enemici? Personal enemies. So these are Coriolanus' personal enemies, the guys in Rome who didn't like him. And so his enemies, and then as you said, put Coriolanus to flight. Literally gave Coriolanus into flight. Okay, because they didn't like the law he proposed, so they put him to flight. And as you said, Nate, he fled to the Volsci enemies, and these are hostes, right? These are state enemies of the Romans. Good. Adele?
Dukes will score Factus ad Fortas Rome I one yebat et urbum occupare Parvat. So the leader made
Made?
the Vulcan named the leader.
Oh, that's the idea, but very literally it says he, factus. He, how do we translate? Having been made, right? Your perfect passive participle. So he,
Oh.
having been made dux vulscorum.
Leader of the Vulcans.
Exactly. What did he do?
Yebat
Good.
used to come to the gate of Rome.
Good. So he was coming. He was moving towards the gates of Rome,
And Parvat approaching.
not approaching, but
Are used to. Not
approach. What's paro? Parare.
Prepared.
Prepare. Porto is care. Paro is to prepare. So and he was preparing.
To occupy.
Good. To occupy or seize or bem.
Seize the city.
The city. Very good. Okay. So he fled to the Volsci, these people he had previously defeated, and they were very happy to receive him. So having been made leader of the Volsci, he was coming to the gates of Rome, and he was preparing to seize the city. Sure.
Victoria cum alis egregis mulieribus Romanis ad castra Coriolani acessit pacem qualificativa. Victoria with many Roman allies. Wait, what
Well,
is?
with many other allies, right?
Okay.
And not many, because that'd be multi, so this is mulieribus. So Etruria with other egregis mulieribus. Who are those mulieri? Women. And what kind of women are they? Egregis. Egregis.
Exceptional.
Exceptional. Good.
Is that the same as distinguished?
Yes. Good. So remember, in English, egregious sounds kind of negative, but it's a positive idea in Latin. So Vittoria, with other famous, distinguished, illustrious women, Roman women, Romanis.
Attack the camp of
Well, probably not. She processit.
Wait. Oh, okay. Wait, isn't. Oh, okay.
And those, you're right. I mean, those verbs in other contexts could have to do with attacking, but here, since it's just with a band of women, she processit. She
So, like, approach.
approached. Very good.
The camp of Coriolanus.
And petituit pocket.
And sought peace.
Sought peace. Good. So the only thing that was possibly going to stop Coriolanus was this band of women who come to ask him not to attack the city. Does anyone want the lessons?
I'll go ahead.
Great, thanks.
Coriolanus verbis matris affectus dixit mater romans servovis. Coriolanus, having been affected by the word of mother, you all have saved Rome.
Good, but not you all, because that would be servovistis. He's just saying, Mother, you have saved Rome. Only you, right? So he's saying only Vittoria could have done this. Okay. So Coriolanus, as Ito said, having been affected by the words of his mother, having been moved by the words of his mother, said, Mother, you have saved Rome. So I want to actually move on and do some new grammar today. It's very sad for you guys. And it involves new vocabulary also. So I'm going to do vocab sheet.
Thanks, Miss Yanda. Anything.
In a minute. Yeah, just remind me it's in my desk. Okay. So the first word on there is casus.
Which page are we on? Sorry.
It's in the red book.
Oh.
That's why I give you the book out. So casus is the first word. Okay. The genitive is not casi, so do not write that in. The genitive is casus with a long mark over the U, which tells you what. Well, it is masculine. Okay.
It's irregular.
It's either irregular or it's a new declension. It's fourth declension. So that's what we're going to learn today. Okay. Because that's the genitive we haven't seen before. And remember, it's the genitive that tells you what declension the noun belongs to. So this is telling us it belongs to a declension we haven't seen before. So casus, casus. Okay. So notice that the U, so the U in casus, the nominative is short. The U in the genitive is going to be long. Okay. So casus, casus. It's masculine. Should I guess? So, does anyone see what it's related to? It's related to a word we've had before. House. Not house. House. That would have a U in it, right? It's a word we learned relatively recently. Kado. Kadere, kekiri, kasus, which means what? What does kado mean? It's an accident. Or something that's casual that happens. So kado means to fall. You guys, again, these words are not going anywhere. Kado is a really common verb. So kado means to fall. So a lot of these fourth declension nouns we're going to see come from verbs that we already know. They look like the fourth principal part, but they don't decline in the same way. Okay. So kasus means a downfall, okay, or an accident. Or chance, right? Something that just happens to befall you. Okay.
So it's not necessarily, it's not like a negative word.
Right, so it's not necessarily negative, but it is usually negative. So usually it means misfortune. Sometimes it just means chance or accident. Okay. Usually it's negative. Okay. The next word is domus. The genitive is domus, again with a long U. Okay. And this one is feminine. Does anyone know what domus means?
Like domain.
Yeah, exactly. House. It means house. So we learned the word casa because it's convenient. They do not use the word casa. Okay, so from now on, if you ever want to say the word house, the word they use is domus. Okay, this is their word for house or home. What are our English derivatives? Domain.
Dominion.
Dominion, right? Because that also relates to dominus, who's the master of the house, right? What other words? You have filling place.
I feel like that doesn't sound like a
That sounds like
Domicile?
killing.
It actually does not have a negative connotation. I wouldn't say it has a cozy connotation, but it doesn't have a negative.
cozy.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Exercitus. Here's the next one. This is also fourth declension, so the genitive is exercitus with a long U. It's masculine. What verb does it look like that we've seen? Exerkeo, which means what?
Train.
To train. So these are the people who have been trained. So this is the army. Okay, this is the word for army.
I thought milites was.
That's the soldier. So the soldiers belong, the milites belong to the exercitus. The next word is impetus. Impetus, impetus. Also masculine. Okay. Anyone know what an impetus is in English? So this is the impetus for an action.
The reason.
The reason, like the driving force. So it means any kind of like forward motion, which again for the Romans usually means what? Attack. Good. So the default translation is attack, but it can also be like in English just forward momentum. And it's related to the verb peto. The next word is manus. So manus, manus. This one's feminine. What does manus mean? Your hands. Then remember how you say it. So what's your right hand? Your manus. Remember right? Good, but it's feminine. So manus. Dextra. Good. And the left hand? Sinistra. Good. So manus dextra, manus sinistra. Feminine.
Okay, you have to memorize the genders.
Yes. So the fourth declension is tricky in that. Luckily, there's not very many words in the fourth declension, and they're all either masculine or feminine. Most of them are either masculine or feminine. So what are our English derivatives for manus, meaning hand? Manual. Manicure. Good. What else? Manifold. Good. A handful. A handful of men. That's different. Manifold, yeah. Embracing with the hand. Good. What else? Manufacture, right? To make something by hand. If something has been written by hand, it's a manuscript. Good. All that stuff. The last one is senatus. So senatus, senatus, and that one's masculine. Anyone have a wild guess what senatus means? The Senate. Right, so the Senate. And remember the Senate means, where does the word come from? Remember other words it's related to? Who's in the Senate? It's a group of
senators
who are all in Rome.
Senators.
What kind of? They're all what? They're men, and generally what's their age group? Old, right. So the word senile is related to it. They all come from the same root, which means old. So this is senatus is the group of old men. Okay.
Oh, it doesn't actually mean Senate.
It does mean Senate, yeah.
Oh.
But the Senate is a group of old men.
Well,
So
let's
keep in mind.
like old to senile.
Will it ever show up as a group of old men
No.
in translation?
No. Okay. Demonstro. Those should look familiar. It's just monstro, okay, with de on the front of it. So it's what conjugation? First. It's one of our nice first conjugation verbs. So demonstro, demonstrare, demonstravi, demonstratus. And what's it going to mean?
Show.
To demonstrate, to show, to point out.
But we already have
Hmm?
Did we already have demonstration?
I think we did. The book's not very bright.
We're just learning this.
Desero is the next one. So desero, deserere. So it's a third conjugation. It's hard to say. Okay. The third principal part is deserui. Okay, so ui is the ending on it. Deserui. And the fourth principal part is desertus. So does anyone have a guess what desero means? To desert. Just like in English. Despicio is the next one. So despicio, despicere. Third conjugation also. Despicere. The third principal part is dyspexy with an X. So D-E-S-P-E-X-I, dyspexy. And the fourth principal part is dyspectus. D-E-S-P-E-C-T-U-S, dyspectus. And what's despicio going to mean? To despise. Good. Does anyone see what the root is? What other verbs it's related to? Specto. So literally is to specto de, to look down on someone. Okay, to despise them. Okay. And the last one is reddo. Okay. Reddo, reddere.
How many R's?
So reddere is R-E-D-D, E-R-E. So also third conjugation. The third principal part is redidi, okay, which has 3 D's in it, so R-E-D-D-I-D-I, redidi.
So fun word to say.
And the fourth principal part is reditus, also with 2 D's, reditus. Okay. Does anyone see what this is a compound of? Do and re, right? So what's that going to mean?
Give again.
To give again or give back. So it means to give back, to restore. Okay.
What is it?
It's
Does
from,
that have any?
it's
I
from
know.
Italian.
But does, what, is there like a Latin base of like the?
I don't know what they use for their scales. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know much about ancient music.
Right, what happens
Okay, guys. So, in terms of declining the fourth declension, okay? So, fourth declension. Again, so just like first declension is marked by an A, right? Second by an O or a U. Third kind of by an E, okay? Or an I. The fourth declension is marked by a U. Okay? There are very few neuter nouns which we're not dealing with right now. Okay, most of them are masculine and feminine, and the masculine and feminine ones decline the same way, just like in the third declension. Okay. So if we were going to use one of our new ones, we can use kasus. I think that's what they use in your book if you have your red book. So kasus. So again, in the nominative singular, it's a short U. Okay, so kasus, which meant what? What did kasus mean?
Like
Accident, misfortune, chance. Okay. The genitive, which you learn as part of the vocabulary, right, is kasus with a long U. So you actually do have to pay attention here to differentiate. You have to pay attention to that long mark. Okay. If it has a short U, it's nominative. If it has a long U, it could be genitive. Okay.
You think it could be genitive.
I did say that. Okay. Dative is kasui with an I on the end. I, just like the dative singular ending for third conjugation, third declension. Okay. Accusative is kasum, that accusative singular ending in M, just like we're used to. And ablative is kasu with a long U. Okay. So kasus meant what? What did kasus mean, Nate?
It meant house.
Not house.
No.
Confusing, but misfortune. So misfortune, kasus mark means what?
The misfortune.
What case is this?
It's the genitive.
Genitive, so we're going to translate
Wait,
it.
but I thought you said that this is the one you said it could be genitive.
Well, right now, the chart
Okay.
that we're looking at, I'm telling you this is
Alright.
genitive, so how are we going to translate it?
So the misfortune.
How do we translate the genitive?
For the misfortune.
For
That of misfortune.
of misfortune, kasui, Shirley would be
2 and 4.
misfortune, kasum, just misfortune, right in the accusative, and kasu, Aaron, how do we translate kasu?
with or by.
Misfortune, exactly. Okay. In the plural, the nominative plural is kasus. Okay. Same as the genitive. Which is not that different. We're kind of used to these two forms being the same, right? Like equi. Okay. The genitive plural has 2 U's in it. Okay, so kasuum. Dative plural is kasibus, just like the third declension. And because dative and ablative are always the same in the plural, you know that that's also going to be the ablative, so kasibus. Okay. And the accusative ending, accusative plural is kasus, same as the nominative. Okay. All right, are there any questions about that? So if we were to practice using senatus, which means what? What does senatus mean? Senate. So how would you say of the Senate, Emily?
Well, plural,
Singular, there's only one Senate.
Senos.
Sen. So remember, to find your base for a noun, you go to the genitive and cut off the genitive ending, which is us. So your stem is senat. Senatus with a long U. Good, means of the Senate. To the Senate, Adele?
Cosui.
To the Senate.
Senatui.
Senatui. Good. Okay. I see the Senate. Amir. So just in the accusative.
Senatum.
Senatum. Good. And ablative. Ida. Senatu. Okay. Houses. Right? How would you say houses using our new fourth declension word for house?
Domos.
Good. So houses would be.
In the nominative.
Mm-hmm.
Domos.
Domus with a long U. Good. Uh-huh. Shirley, of the houses.
Domos.
Of the houses.
Domulum.
With two U's. Good. Adele, to the houses. Two or four of the houses. Domibus. Good. The houses in the accusative, Mark.
Domus.
Domus with a long U. And by the houses or with the houses, in the houses. Ida. Domibus. Okay. Are there any questions about that? So again, it just, the only confusing thing is how many forms end in us. Okay. But again, it's a much smaller declension. The third declension is the biggest group. Okay. This is not the smallest. The fifth declension is the smallest, but it's much smaller than any of the other declensions that we've seen so far. So there's not
there
very
are only
many.
5 declensions, or like 20.
There's 5 declensions.
Okay. So we're like
Okay.
80% there. Right?
So, correct. So your homework is going to be to finish the women have their say, okay, to finish that translation, and to learn these fourth declension endings and start learning the vocab from the chapter to go along with it. Okay, so I would practice writing out, exercitus or casuus or something like that. Okay? Are there any questions about that?
Will there be a quiz on Thursday?
There will be a quiz on Thursday, which will cover the fourth declension.